Greetings, citizens. Hey you beautiful creepy human being you. Welcome to my channel and welcome to today's true crime video. I'm so happy we could meet like this. I'm so happy that somehow in all of this that we're forced to endure every single day of our lives, today you and I were able to find each other on this crazy little planet that we call home. My name is Brittany or BRATTERSTEIN, whichever you prefer, and today we're going to be discussing the terrifying murders of Tom and Jackiw Hawks. But before we get started, if you have not yet had the pleasure, please make sure to join the Brat Pack by subscribing and ringing that bell. I put out a new video every single week and I would love to hang out with you. Yes, you specifically you, but I can only do that if you join the Brat Pack and become one of us. Alright, now that I'm done begging you to join my cult, we can get into this video. Now today's video is one of my condensed crimes videos, which basically means that this video is a shorter version of the videos I normally do. This is intended for those who really like short form content, those who want to get in, get out, and get on their way, or for people who just want a little bit more of me during the week. But if you're somebody who likes long form content, check back in on Monday, because Mondays is where I do deeper dives. The videos are usually an hour long, sometimes they're two-parters, but for this video, this is condensed crime. So today I'm going to tell you the terrifying story of the murders of Tom and Jackiw Hawks, a retired couple who was literally just trying to live the best life when they were murdered by a child actor turned hardened criminal. And now, at the end of this video, after I give you all the details, I want you to answer the question of the day, and that is this. What do you think causes people to do the things that they do? I know that's a very general question, but I'd like to know, what do you think makes somebody this evil? Once you hear all the details, I want you to give me the answer to that question, because I am perplexed, let me tell you that. And now, with all of that said, come gather around and let me tell you the story of the terrifying murders of Tom and Jackiw Hawks. In November of 2004, retired couple Tom and Jackiw Hawks were living the dream. They had bought a yacht, they were living on said yacht and just floating around the ocean, doing what people who are boating people do, drinking cocktails and enjoying each other's company. That was until one fateful day in mid-November when the couple went out on their yacht with a group of strangers. The yacht returned, the strangers returned, but the couple, Tom and Jackiw, never did. Now, Tom and Jackiw, by all accounts, had a wonderful life. They had that sort of love-inducing, envy-inducing, what is the word? They had the sweet type of love that everyone dreamed of having. Tom and Jackiw met in 1986. He was 39, she was 29. He had 2 sons from a previous marriage, and Jackiw had no children. She was actually unable to have children, but had always wanted to be a mother, so this just ended up being the perfect fit. Now, obviously, this can be a hard thing, right? Adding a new person into the mix when you already had an established family and now these were children of divorce. Now you're throwing a new woman in and she has no idea if these kids are going to be receptive to her, because they're not grown up by any means, but they're not babies either. They're in elementary school. But Jackiw got so lucky because Tom's boys loved her and accepted her completely. They even ended up calling her mom, even though their mother was still alive. Now they just had 2 moms. Their relationship just sort of sounds adorable to me. They sound like they were just so compatible in so many ways. They had all the same interests, and they also wanted the same things out of life. They were both super into fitness, spending a lot of times at the gym. They both really loved boats. They just seemed sort of meant for each other in every single way. And even from day one, they were just completely attracted to each other in a way that was more than surface level. It was soul level, if you believe in souls. So they meet. They start dating, they get married in a Hawaiian-themed wedding. Okay, adorable. They move in together, they raise the boys together, they have the perfect life together, and then they have the perfect goal in mind for after their children are grown. Both of them had a very specific goal in mind, and this was to buy a boat after the kids had grown and moved out. They were going to sell their house, they were going to buy a boat, and not just any boat, they were going to buy a yacht so that they could spend their, golden years, is that what they're called? Their retired years, because they wanted to retire at the same time. They wanted to spend this time on a yacht, sailing all over the place, just enjoying each other's company and living a stress-free boat living life. Now this sounds nice, right? This sounds like the type of thing that you dream about. It sounds like a beautiful idea, but you can't grow old with a beautiful idea, right? Well, they did. They were determined to take all the steps to make what they wanted a reality for them. And they were doing it. They worked hard for years and saved all of their disposable income that they could to put towards this yacht. So by 2002, when both of their kids had moved out of the house, Tom and Jackiw did exactly what they said they were going to do. They sold their house. They took that money plus all the money that they had saved over the years, and they bought a yacht. It wasn't like the fanciest yacht. As far as yachts went, it was a modest yacht. It was more on the low end of yachts, but it was still a yacht, and it was something that was theirs. It was something that they owned. It was a symbol of what they had worked so hard to achieve. So they went and named this boat the Well-Deserved, because it was well-deserved from all the work they'd put in to acquire it. They were living their dream. They took this yacht and they made it their home. It was beautiful. It was a reflection of their relationship together. They lived happily on this boat for 2 years, going off and sailing across the ocean during the day, coming back and docking up the boat at night. Boat people doing boat people things. They were drinking cocktails. They were spending time together. They were laying on the deck or whatever the floor of the boat is called, getting all tan, being all happy, just loving their lives together. Now, their lives did take an unexpected turn a couple years into living their boat living life, right? And this is when their son Matt gave them a call and let them know that they were going to be grandparents to a new baby boy. And this was a dream in and of itself, you know, a new baby to love and to cherish and to hold and to smush. But this was going to be hard for them living on a boat. So they had to make the decision of sticking with the dream life that they always wanted and always planned for and were currently living, or following, you know, the trajectory of their life with this new dream that was in development. Life happens when you're making other plans, right? So even though they loved their life at sea, they loved their yacht, they loved the future that they had saw, they loved that they had worked so hard to have something and now have it. They had it, it was theirs, it was tangible, it was there. They loved the idea of being present grandparents more, so they took steps to sell their yacht so that they could buy a house that was closer to their son, so that they could be present, active grandparents in their new grandbaby's life. Lives. So Tom and Jackie went on to put their yacht up for sale, and they put it up for a cool $500,000. And they were stoked when they got an offer pretty quickly. This younger couple had contacted them saying that they had been looking to buy a yacht as well. They had a similar dream in life to what Jackie and Tom had, and they were offering to pay for this yacht in cash. Sounds like a deal too good to be true. Well, they didn't realize it at that time, that it was too good to be true, and they were stoked. They called their son to give him the good news, but this was the last time their son would ever hear from his parents again. When days went by and nobody had heard from Tom and Jackie, people started to panic a little bit, because obviously they lived on a boat, so they'd go off and they'd do their sailing, but they always came back and they always got into contact with people, so people knew that they were safe. So when this didn't happen, it was noticed, and it ended up coming to the attention of Tom's brother. I believe his name was Jim, and I think he was a cop. Was he a cop? I think he was a cop. And when he heard what happened, he was like, okay, this is very strange for them. So he headed down to where the couple docked their boat to see what was going on. So he gets there and he sees that the boat is docked exactly where it normally would be. And as he approaches the boat, he sees that it doesn't appear anybody is on said boat. How many times am I going to say boat? A lot of times, because we're discussing a boat. So he looks, it doesn't seem like anybody's there, but as he looks around, he feels like something's off. Things just aren't, the condition of the boat isn't the way that Tom and Jackie would leave the boat if they were not on it. Like, there's a control panel and there's like a cover for it and it's halfway off. And overall, just things are messy. And as a couple that took pride in their home, and this was their home, this isn't a way that they would leave it. And it was apparent to Tom's brother that this was the case. And he didn't think anything like weird was happening at first. He just thought that it was very likely that Tom and Jackie had already sold this boat. Like, that's how different it was to him. Like, they couldn't still be living here because they would never leave it this way. So they must have already sold the boat and just not told anybody yet. But nobody was on the boat to question about this. So he leaves his business card with his phone number so that the people who now own the boat can call him and let him know if maybe they've heard from Tom and Jackie. Now, it doesn't take long for him to get a call back, and he gets a call from a 21-year-old woman named Jennifer, and what she tells him doesn't make him feel much better. She says that she and her partner Skyler had bought this boat from Tom and Jackie, and that they too had been trying to get a hold of them and were unable. Apparently they had a growing family. She was pregnant and they already had another child, so they got this boat so that they could live their dream as well. This is where they wanted to raise their family. And so they bought the boat, they paid in cash, Tom and Jackie left, and when going through the boat, they had found some of Tom and Jackie's items, so they had been trying to get a hold of them so that they could give them said items, and had been unsuccessful in reaching them. She tells him the last time that she saw Tom and Jackie, they were getting in their car and heading off with the money, the cash for the boat. And when asked if she knew where they were headed, she said no, that they didn't really discuss that all she really knew is that Tom and Jackie were planning to buy a house, and that they said that they were planning to buy a house that was in Mexico near the border of Arizona so that they could be close to their son and their new grandbaby. And that's all that she knew. But this still didn't make Tom's brother feel good, so the police were called and an investigation began. The first place that police want to start, obviously, is with this couple, the people who had bought the boat from Tom and Jackie, because they were presumably the last people to see the couple alive. This was a young couple named Jennifer and Skyler. And when police looked into Skyler specifically, 25-year-old Skyler, they found a couple of interesting things, a couple of things of note. One, Skyler had actually been a child star when Skyler was only 14 years old. They had been in an episode of Power Rangers, I believe it's just like an extra. They found that Skyler had also been in the Navy, and they found that Skyler was a felon. A violent felon who had been arrested for armed robbery. Okay, so this is not looking good. With this knowledge, police are like, maybe we should look a little closer at these people. So they go back to the boat. But when they get there again, the boat is empty. So they look around the boat, from the outside, because I don't think they had a search warrant yet, and they're looking, and they're looking. And this is when they see what looks like blood. What it looks like, to be specific, is a bloody partial fingerprint. So now they do get a search warrant. They go back to the boat and they go and they search and they check that fingerprint, and it turns out this actually wasn't blood. It was old rust. But to be fair, old rust is like the color of blood, right? But this boat, when searched, had nothing of note. The boat had nothing of note, so they were put back to square one. Or were they? Police cannot shake the feeling that Skyler is somehow involved in this, so they actually contact them and they say, hey, can we, question you? Can we talk about the last time you saw Jackie? And they were like, yeah, that sounds great, let's do that. Skyler tells police that they had been looking at, I think, a boating magazine when they had seen the advertisement for Tom and Jackie's yacht for sale, and they were stoked because they and their wife always had the plan to get a boat. This was their dream. They wanted to live on a yacht and raise their family. So when they saw this and they knew how much cash they had, they knew that this was like a perfect situation. Skyler said that they then contacted Tom and Jackie to arrange a sort of test drive, if you will, to see if the yacht was a good fit. They did the test drive and they loved it. The family was stoked. They were like, this is perfect. This is our dream. This is what we want. Skyler says that they met back up at a later date. It was Skyler's wife, a notary, obviously, to notarize, notary, and a friend named Alonzo to be a witness. They all got together. They met. Everything was signed, sealed, delivered. This suitcase of money was given to Tom and Jackie, and everyone went on their way. So police are like, that was a really cool story, but I have a question, if you could just clarify. How did you have a cool $500,000 to just throw down on a yacht so casually? Because, that's not a thing that most people just have. This is when Skyler was like, oh, I was a child star. I was an extra in the Power Rangers, and I saved my money very wisely. I saved for years and years. I invested, things went well, and I had all this cash just stacked up. Police were like, And then they pressed Skyler on this a little bit, and this is when they were finally like, okay, I wasn't that good with money. I didn't make that much money as an extra on Power Rangers, but what I did do was steal this money. The story Skyler tells was like the plot of Blue Streak. Basically, Skyler says that they had stolen this money from a drug dealer right before they got arrested, because remember, Skyler was arrested for armed robbery. So Skyler says the money was hidden. They were arrested. They served their time. They got out. They retrieved said money, and basically what they wanted to do was to make sure that the money was untraceable by buying the boat and then selling the boat and getting the money back. So basically like money laundering. In hearing this, I can only imagine that in the back of the officers' minds, they were like, that's hella illegal, bro. But at the time, they decided not to do anything and to wait on that because it wasn't what they were dealing with. They had bigger fish to fry. They had bigger fish to fry. But this was all of the information that Skyler had, so they had to let them go. There wasn't anything to hold them for. So they did. And they questioned Jennifer. They questioned the notary. Everybody had the same story, so the end. Now, running out of leads, police realize that they really need to get the information out to the public so they can see if they can bring in some new tips. So they release flyers and bulletins that have photos of the couple and also the car that they were last seen driving so that people can call in if they've seen them. It didn't take long for a call came in that seemed like it was going to be promising. Somebody called in and said that they saw this car parked outside of a home in Mexico. And remember, Tom and Jackie were believed to have been going to buy a house in Mexico so that they could be near the border of Arizona to be near their son. So they're like, hell yeah, this is great. Cops head to Mexico. They knock on the door of the house, and some random man answers the door, and they're like, who the are you? Is this your car? What's going on? And he's like, okay. First off, relax. I just opened the door. Second off, yes, it's my car. My friend gave me that car. And officers were like, well, who's your friend? And this guy said, Skyler DeLeon. So now police are like, oh my God, Skyler is involved. I don't know what's going on, but something's going on. So they want to arrest Skyler. Meanwhile, they learn, like right around the same time, that Skyler has reached out to either his parole or probation officer, I forget which it was, asking for permission to leave the state for work. Police are like, we absolutely cannot have Skyler leaving. So they actually go and they arrest Skyler on what? Money laundering for the whole money, buying a boat, selling the boat, money thing. They're like, okay, we want Skyler to be in custody while we research? No. Investigate the disappearance of Tom and Jackie, because they know that this is not going to have a happy ending. Now, while Skyler's in jail, police do get a warrant to search their home, and when they do, they feel pretty confident that they're not going to find Tom and Jackie alive. They find items that belonged to Tom and Jackie in Skyler and Jennifer's home. And these weren't like casual items, because you remember Jennifer did say that they found some items in their boat that belonged to Tom and Jackie, but these were like big ticket items that would not have been left voluntarily from a couple who is selling a boat. You know what I mean? Like these were big ticket items that they would have taken with them. So it didn't seem good that they were finding these in their home. Now this all looks weird, but Jackie and Skyler are both insisting that they're innocent, that they're not involved at all. So police are like, okay, let's start pressing the other people involved. And they decide they want to talk to the notary and the friend who were there at the time of the sale. They start with the notary. They bring her in and she tells the same story, but then she's pressed a little bit and she immediately breaks. She's like, okay, listen, I've never met Tom and Jackie. That's not good. She says that she never met them, that Skyler had paid her to notarize some documents without the people being there, and that she had done so and just backdated them. So now they move on to the friend Alonzo, and it turns out Alonzo had ran to Mexico because he was afraid of being arrested. So police track him down. They bring him in. They're like, listen, you need to tell us what happened. And he gave the same story again about the cash suitcase. Sure. The suitcase full of cash being given, them driving off, never seen again, etc., etc. But police are like, listen, Alonzo, we already know that that's not true. We've already talked to the notary. We already know that you're lying, so you might as well just be honest. And it's at this point that he clams up, and they're like, listen, you're not doing yourself any favors by being quiet. What you can do that will help you is talk to us, and we will try to get you a lesser sentence for your involvement. And he's like, okay, yes, I will take that deal. Alonzo tells police on the night that Tom and Jackie disappeared that he, Alonzo, Skyler, and another man named John all met up with Tom and Jackie to do a test drive of the boat. He says that it was clear right off the bat that Tom felt uncomfortable about going out with these three men because apparently the vibes were off. And Skyler could tell this, so Skyler stepped away and called Jennifer and asked Jennifer to come down with their child to ease the couple into going out. And it was effective. And it's so messed up that the child was used this way. So once Tom and Jackie are put at ease by a pregnant woman and a baby, okay, and decide, you know what, fine, we can go out tonight. Because before they were getting cold feet and they weren't so sure if they wanted to take the boat out that night. Jennifer's like, oh, you know what? Me and baby are actually going to dip. We're not going to actually go out on the boat with you because, you know, babies, they don't like water. We're going to leave. Which is so, I can only imagine that at that moment, Tom and Jackie were feeling less confident than they had been. Because before, they were going to be going out with these three shady looking people and a woman and a baby, which gave them some sort of comfort that nothing bad was going to happen. But now it was just going to be them and these three people that they weren't comfortable with, and they couldn't really back down now because, you know, that's impolite. So they do. They go out on the water with these three people, and once they're way out in the deep ocean where there's no hope of help, these monsters pounce. Skyler and John then attack Tom, and Alonzo attacks Jackie. They take the couple and they handcuff them and they put them together. And I guess Jackie begs for their lives. She says she just wants to go home, that they just want to go home. They want to go see their sons. They want to see their grandbaby. She's like, I literally just held your child. How can you be so heartless? And Skyler was just super cold and was like, hey, one of you tape up their mouths, tape up their eyes. I don't want to hear their pleas. So they literally tape these people's mouths and put tape over their eyes. I hate that so much. And while this is happening, Skyler goes up and drives the boat further out into the ocean. So Jackie and Tom are just laying there, unsure of what's going to happen. And I can only imagine absolutely terrified. Finally, the boat stopped. Skyler got to a place where they felt comfortable and called for the men to bring the two up. Skyler then forced them to sign papers transferring the ownership of the boat and also to sign papers giving Skyler access to their bank accounts. And during this time, Jackie was smart. She wanted to make sure somebody knew that this wasn't voluntary, and that something was wrong. So she actually spelled her last name wrong and put Jackiw Hawk instead of Jackiw Hawks. The two were then led to the edge of the boat where one of the men approached them with an anchor. And they panicked. Jackie started to cry and beg for her life. Tom started to try to fight them off, but it was no use. Skyler then takes the couple's handcuffs and he ends up attaching them to each other back to back. Then they take the chain of the anchor and attach it to their handcuffs before walking over to the edge of the boat, lifting the heavy anchor and dropping it over the side. This is a nightmare because the chain is sort of long, right? It's attached to an anchor. So the anchor goes over and the chain's pulled for a while Jackie and Tom sit there knowing what's happening but unable to do anything to stop it. So finally the slack's taken out of the chain. They're taken and they're slammed to the side of the boat and they fight with everything they have to try to stop themselves from going over, but it's no use. They're pulled over the side of this boat, fall into the water and are pulled down to the bottom of the ocean, attached to an anchor, still alive. In response to this, in response to doing what they had just done, Skyler, stoked out of their mind, ran to the side of the boat, looked over to where the bubbles were rising to the surface, and laughed like a monster. Once they were sure that the couple was gone, once the bubbles stopped floating to the surface, Skyler then went back and drove the boat to shore. For these crimes, Alonzo ended up pleading guilty to second-degree manslaughter, kidnapping, and robbery, and he was subsequently given 20 years and 4 months, and he got a lighter sentence because he helped police know what happened. And as for Skyler and John, they were both sentenced to death. Now this sounds like everyone, right? Nope. Remember Jennifer, Skyler's woman? Well, apparently she was far more involved than anyone knew. Turns out she was heavily involved. She knew what Skyler was doing. She had helped Skyler plan the entire thing. And when she showed up that night with her baby, she knew exactly what she was doing. And she didn't care before, during, or after what happened to that couple. Isn't that just so horrible? I honestly cannot even imagine. So with that said, Jennifer was found guilty of her crimes and she was given 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole. And now that I've given you all the information that I'm going to give you in today's video, I want you to revisit the question of the day, and that is this. What do you think causes people to do the things that they do? How is it possible that anyone could be this evil? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. And with that said, that completes this video. I hope you found it interesting and informative, and of course I hope it made sense. And I just want to thank you for hanging out and remembering Tom and Jackiw Hawks with me today. Please, before you leave, don't forget to leave me a suggestion of what case you would like to see me cover in the future, because I keep a long list of cases, and every time you suggest a case, I put it on the list with your name next to it so I can give you a shout out if I cover it, because I know you're filled with good ideas and good taste, otherwise you would not be here. If you haven't already, please don't forget to join the Brat Pack by subscribing and ringing that bell. I put out a new video every single week, sometimes more than one a week, and I would love to hang out with you. Yes, you specifically, you. And if you want to hang out more consistently, all my social media is listed down below, along with a link to my merch store where you can get a shirt like this, and also a link to my membership where you can get early access to non-sponsored videos, polls, things like that. And now with all of that said, I just want to thank you for being here when you could literally be anywhere else in the world. That is tight. You are tight. Please stay safe and be a better person than you were yesterday, and I hope to see you in my next video.